some people were sort of kind of quizzical or puzzled, or I don't even know what the right word to say is. But when Donald Trump announced JD Vance as his VP pick, a lot of people were confused, and some people were even mystified because some people thought that he wasn't really the most personable person, but others thought that this is like some radical conservative. Not even conservative. He's a radical far righter who is on the Republican Party, very far to the extreme, and this is just like, you know, someone who is going to support fascism or something. So I figured that I would go and look up JD Vance's voting record to see what the actual facts of the matter are. So here is his entry on Heritage Action for America's website, where they sort of list the voting record, and you could kind of go through and see all of the positions that he supported in comparison to the Heritage Foundation's page. Now, by the way, if you were like some like blue and on dude or like Kamala Harris supporter or something, and you're like, oh, now doobie, you're pointing to a Heritage Foundation website. Well, just because it's pointing to a Heritage Foundation website doesn't mean they're going to lie about the record. They're just going to hold up JD Vance's record to the Heritage Foundation standard. I often find in many of these things that the standard that the websites have is actually farther right than I would like, but at the very least, it sort of shows where someone is. If someone has like an 100%, conservative review score or something, that person's probably going to be far right. But if they're like 70, 80%, they're probably just like a normal conservative. So I would like to go through some of these things just to see what his positions are in comparison to where the Heritage Foundation is, to see if he's actually far right or not. So looking at this here, oh, by the way, just looking at the score, he's got a 93% session score, 93% lifetime score, and a 62% score being deemed an average Senate Republican by the Heritage Foundation. So taking that into account, that's like the high level view. Let's go to the mid-level view. So here he voted no on the Emergency National Security Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2022. It says here, America's, their criticism is this flawed foreign aid package recklessly spends American taxpayer dollars without a plan, a strategy, or end goal. So this, I think, is probably in regards to giving money to some foreign nations like Ukraine or Israel. Yeah, it looks like it deals with giving foreign aid out, basically. So he voted no on that. So he's not a fan of spending money, like giving out blank checks to allies, funding their wars indefinitely. Not a big fan of that. So it says here, vote to dismiss the articles of impeachment against Mayorkas. He opposes that. I think that's completely fair. He opposed the second fiscal year 2024 6-bill minibus. I mean, which is fine. I think it's actually pretty rare that you see people kind of opposing these like minibuses or omnibus bills or stopgap spending bills, which is crazy to me. It's crazy to me that Republicans are sort of still going along with this way of funding the federal government when Matt Gaetz led a whole crusade to get Kevin McCarthy ousted for doing exactly that. It's bizarre to me and unfortunate that when we haven't seen a functional change in how the federal government is funded. But anyways, he opposed that. He opposed the other one as well, the other spending bill. What's this? The Senate Foreign Aid Supplemental Appropriations Package. Let's see here. This gives like $90 billion of foreign aid to various countries, essentially. So he voted against that. He voted against another appropriations package. This is more Israel-Ukraine funding. So a lot of these no's are like Israel and Ukraine funding. The National Defense Authorization Act. Hold on. They say the fiscal year 2024 National Defense Authorization Act should provide our armed forces with the tools and resources needed to deter conflict and require the Department of Defense to focus solely on its fundamental mission of safeguarding our nation's security. The fiscal year 2024 NDAA conference report fails to adequately fulfill these responsibilities and further undermines the integrity of our military. I'm not sure how it does that. To be honest, I have not read this bill. I'm not super familiar with it. He did support one minibus in 2023, which the Heritage Foundation does not support. He did oppose a CR from Chuck Schumer. He opposed the agreement to suspend the debt ceiling. He opposed the ERA, which is very good. ERA is pretty bad. He supported overturning Joe Biden's regulation to use the VA to provide abortions. That's okay. We're getting to some good policies that he's actually supporting here. Supports the Hawley Amendment to create a special Inspector General for Ukraine aid. That's not bad. It's not bad. More accountability for our federal spending is not anything that I will ever complain about. Blocking Biden's ESG rule for retirement accounts. I mean, that's dope. It's weird that we have an ESG rule for retirement accounts. That's insane. Co-sponsorships kind of is in line with all the same co-sponsorships as the Heritage Foundation. Co-sponsorships of Dismantle DEI Act. Nice. CBDC, Anti-Surveillance State Act, Equal Representation Act, and Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, which that one is a good bill. So it seems like J.D. Vance is a small government conservative. Like he's opposed all this unbridled government spending, which are like hallmark big government policies. And if you're for big government, that's sort of like the gateway drug to fascism. You're not really going to be able to get fascism if you don't support big government. J.D. Vance doesn't seem to support big government. So J.D. Vance, based on this page alone, is not really coming off as some sort of crazy Christian nationalist, fascist Republican. Now, maybe I'll see something else from him where I'll disagree, and I think at some point I am going to be reacting to one of his speeches that he gave. So we'll see from his rhetoric there if I agree with his stances or not. But J.D. Vance doesn't really seem to be that radical. He seems to hold some very normal views. Now, maybe it's somewhat controversial to say we shouldn't be giving blank checks to Ukraine in Gaza, but there are a lot of Republicans who support that policy, who say no, like we shouldn't do that. And it's not like crazy to say that we shouldn't be giving money to Ukraine. It's not crazy to say that we shouldn't be sending money to Gaza. I think Gaza is a little bit more questionable, but still, like, it's not crazy to hold these positions that J.D. Vance has. So it'll be interesting to see what policy-based attacks people start launching on J.D. Vance. I've been noticing some very non-policy based attacks that have been launched against him. I do plan on talking about those later at some point. But, as it stands now, I do not have any strong negative feelings about J.D. Vance whatsoever. I think that he seems to be pretty much fine if we're just taking him at his voting policy here. His voting record here. But again, for things like this, we'll just have to wait and see how things pan out. People shift and change their policies all the time. Maybe he was farther right and he's going to be moving closer to more mainstream conservatism, or maybe he's in mainstream conservatism now, but plans on moving far right. We'll have to wait and see. But I mean, the dude has to open his mouth so that we know what record he's standing on at this point. But at the end of the day, we're not voting for J.D. Vance. We're voting for Donald Trump. I don't think that a pick like J.D. Vance is really going to greatly affect Donald Trump's chances at winning the election, because Trump is Trump. He is such a popular person that anyone who is his VPs or even his VP pick is just going to be someone in the background. I don't think that person's going to be sort of like taking up the mantle and being the face of the campaign. So I don't think Trump has much to worry about with J.D. Vance. He would have to put out some insane statements, I don't know, saying that women who get abortions should be hung from trees or something. He would have to put out some very, very crazy propositions in order for me to look at him sideways, or for Trump, for it to negatively affect Trump's campaign, in my opinion. But again, we'll have to wait and see, because there's still like 90 days until the election, so you never know. You never know how things are going to shape up, because this race can transform drastically over the course of like a day or two. So yeah, you never know what's going to happen.